Hello friends, this is the final episode of season 1 where I have shared with you my journey as a cricket fan, how I got hooked onto the game, the different channels by which one would follow the game in those days, and the evolution of the West Indian cricket team into a powerhouse which reigned the cricketing world for 2 decades or more. In this episode, I am now going to share with you some interesting anecdotes regarding cricketers of that era. One very interesting personality from those days was Sunil Gavaskar, who was the batting mainstay of the Indian team at that time. And apart from his role in the cricketing field, he also acted in a Marathi movie called Samli Premachi, a movie which didn't do too well, but that also brings to light a different facet of Sunil Gavaskar's personality. He also hosted a program called Jayamala, which used to be broadcast by the All India radio stations in those days. And the format of the program was where a personality would come and host the program, share anecdotes from his or her life, and also play his or her favorite songs aimed at the Indian Armed Forces. So the program that Gavaskar hosted, I happened to listen to it, and because at that time I was enamored by anything that was linked to cricket, I really got hooked onto that program also. 2 incidents from that program stand out in my memory even now. The first one, when Gavaskar was talking about an incident where he and his fiancée were sitting in a car, and she asked him to sing a song for him. And he said, I didn't sing a song, but I played this song on the music system in my car. And the song goes as, Chand si Mehbooba ho kab meri, aisa maine socha tha, haan tum bilkul waisi ho, jaisa maine socha tha. Now for me, at that time, in any case, cars were not very common. But to think about somebody sitting with his fiancée in a car which had a music system where you could play songs of your choice was really very, very interesting and romantic. So that was one part of the story. And the other fact that he shared in that program was that the West Indian captain Clive Lloyd, who had visited India in the last few years, he was also very interested in Hindi film music. And his favorite song, incidentally, was a song which went by Are Rafta Rafta dekho aankh meri ladi hai, aankh jisse ladi hai wo paas mere khadi hai. To think that Clive Lloyd would have a song like this as his favorite song was fairly interesting piece of information that we got through that program. So that was Gavaskar, sharing some very interesting stories from his life. Now the other person who was a great mainstay of the Indian batting was Gundappa Vishwanath. And both Gavaskar and Vishwanath, were short-statured people, great slip fielders, and great friends on the field and off the field. And so much so that with time, their friendship grew to a level that they became relatives, and Vishwanath married Gavaskar's sister Kavita. And at least my first memory of 2 brothers-in-law playing for the same team. Now, Vishwanath, of course, had made his debut in 1969, and in his debut match, he scored a 0 in the first innings and a century in the second innings. Now, till that time, all Indian batsmen who had scored a century on debut, did not score a century after that in test matches. Now, this was a jinx which had been there with all the batsmen who scored a century on debut. Vishwanath was the first batsman to break that jinx. Now, when Gavaskar made his debut in 1971, the captain of the Indian cricket team, Ajit Wadekar, was hoping and praying when Gavaskar went out to bat that he should not score a century, because he was worried about that the jinx should not affect Gavaskar. So Gavaskar, of course, scored 65 and 67 in the 2 innings that he played in that match. Wadekar's prayers were answered, and Gavaskar, of course, went on to score a century in the second test match and never looked back. So much so that at one time he was the record holder of the maximum centuries in test matches. But talking about that jinx, one of the persons, the first batsman who scored a century on debut and never scored a century after that for India was the legendary Lala Amarnath. And incidentally, his elder son Surinder Amarnath, who went on to make his debut in the New Zealand series in 1976, also scored a century on debut, never to score a century again. His younger brother, Mohinder Amarnath, who had made his debut before him, was more famous and went on to represent India for a longer period of time. More such stories in season 2, where I'm going to talk about the impact of Kerry Packer on the cricketing world, as well as 4 legendary all-rounders who were playing the game at that time: Imran Khan, Kapil Dev, Richard Hadley and Ian Botham. So here's wishing you a very happy Diwali, and I hope to see you all in the next season. If you like whatever I've shared with you in this season, please like or subscribe to my channel, and do leave your comments and any interesting nostalgia points that you would want me to include in the coming episodes. See you in the next season.